Hi, I'm the Moss Man, and in today's video we'll be talking about fertilizer. Now this is one of, I believe, 4 videos that I'll be doing or have done on general plant care and plant growth, so I will attach the playlist here if you want to see some of the other videos I've done around things like light and CO2 and water. But today we're talking about fertilizer. So what I'm going to do first is tell you why you need fertilizer, different fertilizer sources, and then we'll go over what those funky numbers mean, and then I'll tell you what I do to fertilize. And if there's anything else that I didn't remember in this intro part, I will put it here. Okay, now with that all out of the way, let's talk about why you need fertilizer. Now obviously plants need food to grow. It works the same way as when you eat. When you eat, the nutrients in the food gets turned into pieces of you, basically. It enables you to grow or stay living. So with a plant, they get all their nutrients from the soil, just taking it up through their roots, and then they process it, and then that turns into leaves or flowers. If a plant doesn't have any nutrients, it's going to continue to keep growing, but it's not going to have the nutrients to do so, or it's not going to have the nutrients to replace the things that are dying off or are growing apart. So you'll see things like the leaves will turn yellow, or you'll get holes in the leaves, or bits will turn black and start dying. Now these things can all happen for a variety of reasons. You don't want to just assume that they need more fertilizer and then fertilize them, but I'll get into that later. But the difference is outside, things are dying and breaking down and excreting and pushing fertilizer into the soil. What we're doing indoors, we need to find a way to get nutrients into our soil so our plants can grow and be healthy. So a few ways to do that. Most potting soil comes with, it has the nutrients that you need already, which means that oftentimes you don't need to fertilize your plant for 1 year, 2 years, whatever, as long as you've got new, fresh soil in there. But if you want to really encourage plant growth and your plant is growing quite a lot, it's often good to add some fertilizer. So when you're at home, inside your indoor plants, often you'll see something like this, right? This is a liquid fertilizer, and you take this, you take like a teaspoon and put it in here, mix it around, and then you water your plant with the water that's been filled with fertilizer. There's other kinds, of course, like this one is another liquid fertilizer, but this one's cactus food. There's also little sticks that you can stick into the soil. There's, of course, like powders and pebbles and all sorts of stuff you can spread on top of the soil other than manure that will do the same thing when you water it, or when there's water on it, it'll dissipate into the soil. And for aquatic plants, there's also liquid fertilizer. This is kind of the same. But for aquariums too, there are root tabs as well, the same as for other plants, especially for aquatic plants that have really intense root systems. So yeah, so those are some of the basic fertilizers. Okay, so now we know some of the options, some of the types of fertilizer we can get. You'll notice that for these anyways, I don't know if you can see there, but we've got 3 numbers. A 2, 1, and a 3. On this container, we have a 3, a 2, and a 5. And for this one, 2, a 7, and a 7. So what those numbers mean is if we go through them, we have, right, this one's 2, 1, 3. Let's check what it says the ingredients are. Total nitrogen, 2%. Okay, so that's 2. Available phosphoric acid, or P2O5, 1%. Okay, so that lines up with our 1. And then soluble potash, or K2O, 3%. Okay, so that lines up with our 3. From reading the ingredients in the back, we learn that these numbers here represent percentages. The percentage of nitrogen, phosphorus in the form of phosphoric acid, and potassium in the form of potash. So we've got our percentages. We've got 2%, 1%, 3% in this container. Now, what does that mean? We know we've got nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So the little card that we have up in work has this little saying: nitrogen is up, phosphorus is down, and potassium is all around. So what that means is nitrogen greens plants up. It not necessarily helps it grow up, but it helps make plants green, which is of course important for absorbing light and getting more energy. Phosphorus reaches down to the roots, though it helps promote root growth and helps produce blooms. So like if you need more flowers on your plant and you want, in case of gardening, usually flowering leads to vegetables or fruits or whatever you're trying to get. And then potassium is all around, so you'd presume that that's everything to do with the plant. The roots, the green, the blossoms, everything with that plant. Potassium is helpful. What I can tell you is, if you're just growing plants, you don't really need to know any of what I just told you. You don't need to know the percentages. What you do need to know, however, is how to follow instructions. So it'll tell you often something along the lines of this card here, and it'll say fertilize bi-monthly, which in this case means twice a month, not twice a week. Bi isn't 2, monthly isn't per month. Anyways, and you need to be able to dilute it to the percentage that they say, and you'll be good to go. There are some caveats to what I've said. So you read the instructions, it says fertilize bi-monthly. Now that's great and all if you're in spring or summer and your plant is growing like a weed. You can fertilize maybe even more than that. You fertilize, if you're using liquid fertilizer, like this, you fertilize when you're watering your plant. So you'll probably definitely be watering your plant in the spring or summer 2 times a month, at least. Problem is, when you get into fall and winter and things start slowing down, your plant's not going to need to be watered that often, and it's definitely not going to need to be fertilized that often. Because if your plant's not growing, what's it going to do with a lot of nutrients? That's part of the problem. Even if your plant is growing, giving it too much fertilizer can cause issues. Now this isn't quite a perfect example, but with this one you can see, hopefully you can see that, if not I'll put a picture in post, but you can see that the brown is propagating from the stem. It's like moving through the leaves. Usually you'll see like very dark veins on your plant all of a sudden. That means it's getting way too much fertilizer and you're burning it. The way my boss explained it to me is like, you drink 1 Monster energy drink, you're good. You're like, okay, I have some energy. You drink 20 in 5 minutes, and whoo Nelly, you're gonna have a heart attack or something. And yeah, that's the general rule. If your plant starts growing slower, fertilize it less. Chill out. One last thing I'll throw on the end there is I will tell you how I fertilize my plants. My plants grow all year round. They are growing. They're still growing slower in the winter, but they are growing all year round. Except for these here. My aquarium plants, they don't grow any faster or slower depending on time of year, which is by design. I don't want any sunlight messing with my tank and giving me more algae than I already have. But that's pretty easy. I just mix this in, a little bit of this when I change the water. Because of this wonderful tub right here, this brick of water and algae, I do water changes weekly, sometimes more than once a week. which means I have a lot of water sitting around. And not just any water, it's dechlorinated water that's full of nitrates, aka nitrogen, which is one of those wonderful things you see right in here. But additionally, it has all of the wonderful bits that I have in here that I put in my water. Of course, it's way, way, way diluted, but what that means is I've got lots of pre-fertilized water that is dilute enough that I can use it all year round. This right here is my secret stew. This is what my aquarium water looks after I've taken it out. A little more mixed in. You can see all the particles that were in the bottom. I was just stirring it up. And we've got decaying leaf material. All of it leads to an excellent fertilizer soup. Pretty simple. Easiest way to get a plant to soak through is to soak it. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. This is late night editing, Moss man. I forgot to mention, we're nearing 100 subscribers, which is amazing. If you have any questions for the 100 subscriber Q&A, don't forget to leave a comment with the hashtag Q&A, and I will do my best to respond to them when that video comes out. As long as you fertilize, like I said, when your plants are growing, then it should be pretty simple and you shouldn't start burning your plants. If you do, lay off the fertilizer, water it with as little nutrients as possible. And as always, I'd like to thank Dylan and Elijah for the music that you've heard all the way through this video. Unfortunately, I didn't have any dances submitted, so I won't be mimicking someone's dance. I'll be making something up on the spot. But if you would like to submit dances for me to do on camera, follow me at MossmanTV on Instagram, and you can DM me with videos of you dancing, and I'll do my best to dance along. All right.